I'm about as creative as a brick for the most part. I cannot paint, I cannot design. However, I can do one thing, and that is write. Growing up, all I did was write. I wrote poems, haikus, short stories, books, I did it all. However, the older I got, the less I loved it. My focus shifted to essays instead, and I wrote less for me and more for my teachers and professors. When I was younger, my biggest dream was becoming a published author. Now, my biggest dream is just to graduate, with my passion for writing nowhere to be seen. When I was younger, I would go to Barnes& and Noble and have a book limit, courtesy of my parents. Usually it was 2 books a visit. I would run to the young adult section and spend about 30 minutes to an hour just trying to find a good book or skipping to the last few pages of a book I was not going to buy, but I still wanted to find out how it ended. It was my passion and it was all I talked about. I was the epitome of a bookworm and I was incredibly proud of that title. My shining moment was when I published a silly One Direction fan fiction on a website called Wattpad, and it got around 50,000 reads when I was just 12 years old. I was so proud of it, and it felt like I was a genuinely good writer because of this. I dreamed of being a writer one day after I published it online. However, I wrote that when I was in middle school transitioning to high school, and I never actually got to finish the book because all I began to write were essays for my class. Maybe the main character and Harry Styles would have ended up together. Who knows? It seems as though my school did not care about our passions, but instead getting the best test scores possible, so funding can continue to come through. There were never creative writing opportunities, only to write essays. I barely ever got feedback that would improve my writing, but instead I just got how to get the best test scores. This definitely stunted my skills as a writer because I basically had to teach myself how to become a better writer until I got better teachers and professors. A few teachers changed my life and viewpoint on school. One teacher was Mr. Greer, my senior year forensics teacher. He is the embodiment of who I want to be as a teacher one day, and I can only hope to be half of who he is. He gave us life talks if he finished early, and when a boy in my grade committed suicide, he was there for all of us, even though it personally affected him as well, because it was his stepson's best friend. He wanted us to be our best selves, and he knew that starting with him making us wanting to do better. He gave us talks such as never talk to someone in college with a varsity jacket, because they definitely peaked in high school and are stuck in the old days. The scores did not matter to him. What mattered was making sure we were genuinely learning something and that we were okay mentally. He wanted to know what we were passionate about and what made us tick. We had Serial Killer Fridays, which were so fun to present. He was genuinely passionate about what he was teaching, and it was obvious in his teaching. Once I had seriously terrible cramps, and while he was not allowed to do this, he slipped me an Advil because he did not want to see me in pain. It was the small things that impacted my life, and here I am, writing about him 3 years later over a silly Advil. To this day, he is the best teacher I have ever had in my life, and he impacted my life more in 1 year than any of my other teachers have in my other 12 years of public school. He made me feel important, which is the most I could ask of a teacher, because growing up, I never really felt important, probably from all the teenage angst. I visited him after my first semester at Kutztown, and he genuinely wanted to know how I was doing and how he knew I could be doing better in school. His caring went outside his duty as a teacher. He went above and beyond for every and any student. Seeing how he treated students and went about teaching is exactly how I want to be one day. I want students to know they matter, specifically to me, and that the doors are open even after graduation. He did not improve my writing, but he made me feel valued and he showed me what a real teacher is like. And that is the best thing I could have asked for anyway. 2 other amazing teachers I had were Mr. Conrad and Mrs. Santo. They were both English teachers, and I had Mr. Conrad sophomore year and Mrs. Santo my senior year. Mr. Conrad was genuinely a frat boy turned teacher, and all the students knew it. I mean, his name was Brett, which is such a frat name. He complained about his girlfriend constantly, so much so that I was genuinely confused why he didn't break up with her. However, talking to us about his issues made him more personable. He made us trust him, and so I genuinely listened to him because he made us want to. That is how I want to be as a teacher. I want my students to trust me and that they can come to me for anything since I know sometimes students don't have a support system at home. Mrs. Santo was another amazing teacher. I had her for my senior year Literature of the Holocaust class, and she changed me as a writer completely. Finally, it was a teacher that wanted to improve my writing and actually gave me valuable insight on how to improve. Mrs. Santo picked apart your essay, but not in a mean way. She did it in a way that showed that she knew you could do better, and she genuinely wanted to see you succeed. She helped me tremendously with my college application essay. and that is because she did not sugarcoat things whatsoever. I am there to learn, and she taught me so wonderfully. I one day want to be a combination of all three of these teachers. I want to have creative writing days where the students can let their imaginations run wild and write about whatever they want to, with my being able to revise it so that they can still continue to improve their writing skills. By doing this, they can learn that maybe they have a passion for creative writing and that an English class is good for more than just writing countless essays and reading school approved books. I want my students to feel that my classroom is a safe space and that I am always there for them, no matter the circumstances, because that is what I valued from my high school teachers most. Being an educator is so much more than just teaching a lesson. It is helping a student fulfill their passions like very few teachers did for me when I needed it the most. It is being there for students even outside the classroom, because teaching is not just a 9-to-5 job, it extends much past that, even years past. If my teachers growing up had focused more on passions rather than a lesson to pass a standardized test, maybe I would be here under a different major entirely. I miss being passionate about my writing, and I think that it will take many years to get back the feelings I used to get when I would write. I am willing to wait for that to happen, because I am never as calm as when I write.